You are listening to episode 3 of British Comedy Connections, written and presented by me, Jasmine Tonie. British Comedy Connections, episode 3, The Office. The Office, created, directed and written by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant, is a British mockumentary sitcom first broadcast in 2001. Often described as cringe comedy, a very specific genre of comedy where the humour comes from extreme social awkwardness. It was a pioneer of its time and really changed the landscape of British comedy upon its first broadcast. Other examples of cringe comedy include I'm Alan Partridge, The Inbetweeners, Peep Show and Borat. The US spin-off of The Office, starring Steve Carell as Gervais's David Brent, named Michael Scott in the US version, is one of the very, very, very few examples of an American comedy series that I can get behind. Probably because it takes its roots in British origins. 2 6-episode series were created, along with a 2-part Christmas special, with the show following the employees of Wernham Hogg, a Slough-based benign paper company, and their day-to-day Groundhog Day lives. Gervais played the protagonist and general manager David Brent, whose creation was influenced by Basil Fawlty from the mighty British institution Fawlty Towers. The Office launched Ricky Gervais's career, and he's gone on to write way more fabulous comedies including Extras, again with Stephen Merchant, Life's Too Short, An Idiot Abroad with the absolutely brilliant Carl Pilkington, one of my top 10 favourite sitcoms, Channel 4's Derek, and the black comedy Netflix original Afterlife. Afterlife's protagonist, Tony, played by Ricky, is a functioning depressive working as a journalist at a Z-list backstreet local newspaper, the Tanbury Gazette, whose life is totally obliterated after the death of his soulmate and wife, Lisa. After considering committing harry-carry, he decides to carry on living in order to punish the world and everybody in it by doing exactly what he wants and saying, well, exactly what he wants and bugger the consequences. Tony considers this his ultimate superpower. He doesn't care about anything, so he can do, well, anything. Afterlife, which Netflix has just commissioned a 3rd series of, also stars Ashley Jensen as Nurse Emma, who Gervais previously worked with on Extras, Kerry Godliman, who he previously teamed up with in Derek, Roisin Connerty, Penelope Wilton and Joe Wilkinson as the estate's over-familiar postman, who is aptly named Pat. Joe Wilkinson, who at the beginning of his career was a support for very popular stand-ups like Russell Howard and Alan Carr, is a frequent team captain on Channel 4's 8 out of 10 Cats, and has guest starred in numerous British comedies, including The Rob Brydon Show, Robert's Web, loads. Joe co-wrote Sky One's comedy series, Rovers, in 2006, and is also an accomplished stand-up, including his national tour, entitled Joe Wilkinson, My Mum's Called Stella and My Dad's Called Brian. Catchy. Joe also starred in Series 3 of the BBC's hugely successful sitcom Miranda as Norman, the traffic warden. He must love a uniform. Series 1 of Miranda was broadcast in November 2009, and 3 series and several specials later, Miranda Hart was elevated into the British Comedians Hall of Fame. Another example of cringe comedy, Miranda was devised and written by Miranda Hart and developed from her semi-autobiographical BBC 2 Radio 2 comedy, Miranda Hart's Joke Shop, in 2008. Miranda revolves around the socially inept Miranda, played by Miranda, who constantly finds herself and puts herself in extremely awkward and uncomfortable situations. And the entire series was taped in front of a live studio audience, which, by the way, is my ultimate favourite way of filming sitcoms. Miranda Hart, who trained in acting at Ulra, began her career writing and performing material for the Edinburgh Fringe. She's guest starred in a number of British sitcoms, as well as her regular gig as Chummy Brown in Call the Midwife. Also her Hollywood debut in the spy movie as Melissa McCarthy's sidekick Nancy Artingsall. Miranda's real-life friend and fellow actor Sally Phillips appeared alongside her in her self-titled sitcom. Sally Phillips, born in Hong Kong, played Tilly in Miranda, Sophie in I Am Alan Partridge, Jenny in Parents, Shazza in all 3 films of Bridget Jones' franchise, and most impressively co-created and co-wrote the Channel 4 sketch show Smack the Pony. Smack the Pony, originally aired between 1999 and 2003, was a sketch show mainly themed around bad relationships, hidden homosexuality in women, and competitive co-workers. Each episode would always contain a sketch on women at a dating agency and would each always close with a musical parody. The title Smack the Pony, often mistaken for a sexual innuendo, was intended as a spoof of teen girls magazine articles around the late 90s, like Spot the Pony, for example. Amanda Holden was originally part of the lineup, and she did film the pilot for Channel 4, but once the full series was commissioned, she bailed, and Doon Mackichan took her place. With, at times, incredibly surreal humour, a deliberate lack of trite catchphrases, and a guest cameo from our aforementioned Miranda, Smack the Pony is often cited as a big inspiration for budding female British comedy writers and performers. I mean, I prefer the mighty Victoria Wood myself. A regular guest star in Smack the Pony was Sarah Alexander, who is perhaps best known for her role as Susan Walker in Coupling. She's also guest starred in Drop the Dead Donkey, Red Dwarf, The Worst Week of My Life, and regularly performed in the nude practice segment on the Armstrong and Miller Show. Alexander Armstrong and Ben Miller created the Armstrong and Miller Show after their earlier series, entitled just Armstrong and Miller, ended on 2001. The Armstrong and Miller Show ran from 2007 to 2010, a rumoured fourth series never having actually been made. Well, not yet anyway. The series was voted Best Sketch Show of 2007 by the British Comedy Guide, of which I'm a member, just saying, and won the 2009 BAFTA for Best Comedy Series. Ben Miller met Alexander Armstrong at the TBA Sketch Comedy Club in 1992, and together they performed their first full-length show at the Fringe in 1994, then again in 96, when they were nominated for the prestigious Perrier Comedy Award. Comedy should be called that. Ben Miller often gets mistaken on the streets for fellow comedian Rob Brydon, satiring themselves on a 2009 episode of QI where they dressed in similar shirts and even shared an on-screen kiss. Alexander Armstrong is now best known for his role as Quizmaster on Pointless, the popular BBC quiz show, and also appeared in a meta show within a show, in Pointless, in the hugely popular sitcom Not Going Out. Not Going Out, created by Lee Mack, centralises around Mac's character, a version of himself, living as a lodger in a flat in the London Docklands. The fictional Lee is lazy, crude, unambitious, and generally good for nothing, although with a fine sense of humour. How close this character is to his real-life self, we can only imagine. Knowing British sitcoms, though, very close indeed. Again, like all good British sitcoms, most of each episode is shown in front of a live studio audience, up until 2014 in very, very, very good company at Teddington Studios. Teddington produced countless British comedy series. The Green Green Grass, My Family, My Hero, Reggie Perrin, Birds of a Feather, Black Books, and even the very last series of Morecambe and Wise. Series 11 of Not Going Out is currently airing on BBC One in the primetime Friday night slot. Not intended as a plug, just a fact. Together with Andrew Collins, Lee Mack writes a sitcom which currently co-stars Sally Bretton as Lucy, Deborah Grant from the Bessie Bunter sketch, If You Know, You Know, and there won't be many of you, as Wendy, Hugh Dennis, Bobby Ball, met him, and Abigail Cruttenden as Anna. Abigail, whose mum ran the London stage makeup school Grease Paint, there's a fact for you, has appeared as Anna since 2014. With an ex-husband that is none other than Sean Bean, whom she met on the set of Sharp playing Bean's on-screen wife, and acting credits including Poirot, Midsummer Murders and Benidorm, Abigail has also guest-starred on the British comedy drama Fresh Meat as Oregon's mother. Fresh Meat, created by Jesse Armstrong and Sam Bain. Oh, let's get interactive. What else did they write? I've mentioned two big ones of theirs in previous episodes. I'll tell you at the end. The plot of Fresh Meat basically revolves around 6 Manchester uni students' lives in an off-campus shared house. Fresh Meat is definitely a series aimed at students, with the final series' main theme being job seeking, exam pressure at the finals, and how much importance should, and indeed is, placed on getting a degree. Fresh Meat guest starred Robert Webb and Faye Marseille. The latter I met at a friend's birthday party. We had a great time. Irrelevant. Fresh Meat also notably marked the acting debut of young whippersnapper comedian Jack Whitehall. Jack Whitehall, the host of the Brit Awards since 2018, started his TV career in 1997 when he appeared in the family series Noah's Ark. After his big break in Fresh Meat, he played Alfie Wickers in the BBC Three sitcom Bad Education, as well as co-writing the Bad Education movie version in 2015. In 2011, Jack wrote Daddy's Little Princess, a short film for Sky One's British comedy drama series Little Crackers. According to Sky, the show marked the start of the biggest financial investment in British comedy from Sky during their whole history. Series 1 of Little Crackers aired in 2010, with the first episode directed, written and presented by my personal and professional life idol, inspiration and just about queen, Victoria Wood. Victoria Wood, who left us with so much more to give us in 2016 and whom we shall talk about in the present tense, is a comedian, actress, director, producer, composer, musician, screenwriter, lyricist and stand-up comedian. The only person to single-handedly sell out the Royal Albert Hall for 12 consecutive nights. With her 2001 tour, Victoria Wood at it again. Meeting her was genuinely one of the biggest, most incredible experiences of my life. Her songs are incredible, poignant, hilarious and life anthems. Her sitcom Dinner Ladies is perfection. Her musical, Acorn Antiques, the musical, I went 10 times, I told you, I love her. Her dramas, her sketch shows, her whole body of work is unrivalled. Victoria Wood, as seen on TV, was broadcast on BBC Two between 1985 and 1987, written and starring Vic, as well as her long-term collaborators, Julie Walters, Celia Imrie, Duncan Preston and Susie Blake. Linking many of the sketches in the series was Susie Blake's arrogant and snobbish television continuity announcer, her most famous line being to camera, "We'd like to apologise to viewers in the North. It must be awful for them." Aside from bringing Vic's comedy characters to life, Susie Blake, who trained at Arts Ed and then LAMDA, has also starred in One Foot in the Grave. She's replaced Miriam Margolyes as Madame Morrible in Wicked and the West End, toured with Jenny Eclair in the National Tour of Grumpy Old Women 2 in 2009, Not Going Out, and the hit BBC sitcom Mrs Brown's Boys as Maria's mum, Hilary Nicholson. Mrs Brown's Boys, developed from the original radio play version, then a book series, then from the film The Mammy, then finally Mrs Brown's Boys as we know it, first broadcast in 2011. Each episode, filmed in front of a live studio audience, the best way, like I said, always begins with Agnes Brown immediately breaking the fourth wall and always ends with her breaking the fourth wall to say goodbye. Brendan O'Carroll stars as Agnes Brown, the mother hen, with several members of his real-life family as well as close friends making up the rest of the cast. The series has received some particularly harsh and long-lasting criticism, essentially because some critics see the show as just a man in drag for half an hour a week. But despite that, the show continues to have had a very high viewership. Mrs Brown's Boys has won 2 BAFTAs, an IFTA, Irish, Best Comedy at the TV Choice Awards, and won a National Television Award 3 years consecutively for the Best Comedy. I wouldn't be too bothered by the critics if I were you, Brendan. In 2018, All Round to Mrs Brown's was born, a comedy talk show hosted by Agnes Brown and featured all the cast from the sitcom. The talk show boasted some illustrious guests, including Pamela Anderson, Lulu, Michael Ball, Jerry Springer, Boy George, and Lancastrian comedian Michael Joseph Pennington, better known as Johnny Vegas. Johnny Vegas, known for his husky voice and slightly surreal comedy style, originally studied art and ceramics at university, before then selling door-to-door boiler insurance, packing sif in a factory, and he worked in an Argos warehouse before finding his path to comedy. Vegas has starred in Shooting Stars, Black Books, 8 of 10 Cats, Benidorm, Still Open All Hours, and in 2005 he starred in an unofficial short comedy film entitled Blake's Junction 7. Blake's Junction 7 parodied and featured the characters from Blake 7, with the characters still behaving as they would, but in the mundane, alternative universe setting of a motorway service station, and comments on the events of the final episode of the real series. The film was released on DVD in 2008 to celebrate 30 years of the original cult series. Blake's Junction 7 starred Johnny Vegas as Rog Blake, Mark Heap as Kerr Avon, Mackenzie Crook as Savala, and Martin Freeman as Vila Restel. And Mackenzie Crook and Martin Freeman were both in da 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 The Office. You have been listening to episode 3 of British Comedy Connections. Oh, and the other 2 smash hits from Jesse Armstrong and Sam Bain, Peep Show and Shaun of the Dead. Let me know in the comments what sitcom or actors you'd like me to feature, and your wish is my command. Well, that's if I know about them. Although, at the risk of being arrogant, I definitely will. Let me know. Thanks for listening, and make sure you like and subscribe to not miss the next episode. Bye for now!
British Comedy Connections Episode 3 was devised, written and presented by Jasmine Tonie.